Hello and welcome to the Symposium of Wild Hearts. I'm here with this glowing big heart, Betsy Lafae. She is a healer and intuitive, a breath worker, a former psychic, and a good friend. And so welcome, Betsy.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here and excited too.
I'm so glad to have you here. So I was preparing for this and this word popped up in my consciousness. It was reacclimate. And so really the purpose of the symposium is to give people a chance to reacclimate to the wisdom of their heart. It's a very personal thing. It's not one size fits all. It's the truth that lives, the truth with capital T that lives in here. And so one thing that I've been doing before we get into all the juiciness that we have planned is to just start the session off with some sort of heart centering exercise. And so I have something in mind that I can lead, but we've also kind of been talking behind the scenes. So if there's something that you have either now or later, we could do it. You just let me know how you'd like it to flow.
I'm ready to receive your heart reacclimation. I'm ready.
I like it. Okay, so go ahead and close your eyes. And for those of you who may be driving or are witnessing this in a different way, just follow along to the best of your ability. So we're just closing our eyes, and maybe we sigh it out because that is a sign to the nervous system that all is well. And really what we're doing in this space is we're getting quiet and we are listening. We're just getting curious about what we may be feeling. Maybe we place our hand over our heart just to emphasize that this is where we want to listen from. And really just adopting the eyes of a loving parent to a child. So whatever is coming up for you, just wrap it in compassion and love. Another reason that we get quiet is to really learn how our body, our intuition, the truth of us speaks. So just allowing for whatever that looks like, whatever that feels like. There's no right, there's no wrong. And so we're just going to take 3 deep breaths together as a way to seal in this short time. And if you need more time in this space, please feel free to pause and just have your process. Really give yourself time. Just take a deep breath in and sigh it out. Another big belly deep breath in, sighing it out. Let's just do one more deep breath in. And then when you're ready, just fluttering your eyes back open, coming back to the present space and time.
Yes.
I love it. I already feel so different.
Holy cow, the loving parent.
Yeah.
I needed that.
Good.
I needed that. I've been having this thing, which I'm sure everyone can relate to. My ideas and motivations literally come at the wrong time, right? They come when I'm going to sleep, and they come when I'm supposed to be doing meditation or some other self-care practice. I'm like, oh, I really want to send that email now. And no other time during the day do I feel like sending that email.
Of course.
So the loving parent was like, we understand you're excited and everything in due time. And I'm like, cool. I like that encouragement.
Compassion. And so instead of reading your bio, what I've been doing with my guests is doing this fun little, I don't have a name for it. It's kind of like 20 questions, but it's 11 and they're rapid fire. So it's the idea that as soon as I ask you a question, you're answering. So it's not a thinking activity. It's just a way to get the energy moving and for people to get introduced to you. And if you do want to have Betsy's bio and contact information, it'll all be under this video. So don't worry. Are you game?
I'm ready.
Okay. So as soon as I ask, you answer 11 questions. Here we go.
Okay.
What's your favorite emotion?
The first thing I heard was sorrow.
Ooh. What's another word for wild?
Intense.
Mm. How does your heart feel right now?
Fluttery.
Show me your sexy face. Woo! I love it.
Do I have to like stop doing this at some point? Like, am I
No,
turning to another?
no, I'm trying to read my own handwriting. Okay, what sound do whales make?
Oh, I can't make it. It's like,
I love it. I think you got it. What's your favorite?
I never tried that before.
What's your favorite body part?
Oh, definitely. Hello. Yes.
Titties.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes.
Describe my face.
Oh my gosh. So beautiful. Radiant.
Thank you.
Yes.
What's God's deal?
Oh, God's deal is all just yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
Say something wise. You've already said a lot of wise things, but say something else wise.
We're always in the right place.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! Okay. Who are you crushing on?
Oh, I have a crush. Who do I have a crush on? Myself.
I love it. Okay,
Yeah.
so last one. Tell me a secret.
Okay, a secret is that yesterday I had pretty much for the first time this radiating energy throughout my hands that was just buzzing because I was on fire and I was expressing anger in a very loving and healthy way.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Betsy
Yeah.
Lafae. I think people will know you even better than before we started.
That's great. That was fun.
Oh, good. Okay, so let's start off with so there's a few things that I think that you're just so amazing at, and it's taking these sort of high level esoteric things and making them really digestible and easy to understand for people. So let's start off with your working definition of what intuition is.
Sure. Well, thanks for that compliment because that's literally my goal. So it's really good to hear that reflected back. My definition of intuition, well, I'll say it's expressed inside the body. So it's a physical sensation that can be translated in different ways. It is the universe connecting to your soul, which they're one and the same, right? We are a drop in the ocean. Mm-hmm. And it is universal life force energy expressing through you. So that's what intuition is.
I love that definition. Let's keep on this thread. Okay, so if that's the working definition, why is it important, and how come so many people feel disconnected from it?
That's great. Okay, it's so important. I'll give like the most tantalizing reason why it's so important is because we're born into this lifetime to succeed, to be healthy, to be happy, to have intimate relationships, to learn from those, to also struggle and learn from pain, okay? But we are actually meant here to receive love in all of those ways. And so when we are not experiencing those things, it means we are not connected to ourselves, not connected to source, not connected to the language that source uses to communicate to us, letting us know whether or not we're connected, which is called intuition, right?
Yeah.
So when we are disconnected, we don't feel good. And so why are so many people disconnected? We're disconnected in this culture and in many cultures around the world, I believe, because as a collective, there has been an energy of fear that has grown. And there's a good percentage of us that understand how to manipulate people into fear, into lack. Lack and fear are the same thing. Okay. Lack, fear, pain, things like this. So they understand how to use pain points to sell us things so that they can gain power. And so the easiest way to do that is to take away our guidance system, which people call an internal guidance system because it's inside of us.
Yeah.
So to take away awareness from that, and that was part of that's part of the video that I was talking about. You know, this happens not just on TV with commercials, not just with big bankers, not just with, you know, number 45, you know, those are all fear mongering entities, but it also happens in the wellness field. I won't go into it too much, but I'll say I was just in this workshop where the number one thing was for us to trust ourselves. And then there was this seminar was set up. If you want to know more about this, there's a video on it. But the seminar was set up to take away all of our ways to take care of ourselves, all of the ways for us to trust ourselves. We were sleep deprived, and we were food deprived, and we were sunshine deprived.
Wow.
And intimidated physically for leaving. So it's just a message that this could happen to me, that did happen to me, but I could be one day one of the people who is like trying to manipulate you to buy my product. And it's up to you to trust yourself to say, Betsy's gone off the deep end. I followed her for the last 10 years, but now I don't know what she's gotten into.
Yeah.
You know, and this is the thing, my trusted teachers, we're all human. You know, we're all going to do that. So fear mongering, and also just a cultural sort of thing that we don't honor creativity. You know, in the Mayan culture, every single person is creative. They are an artist. Well, that means that they're connected to their intuition. That means every single person knows how to connect to their intuition. Right. So in the Mayan culture, they're not disconnected from it.
That's so powerful. And it's a strong point to start at, because I think people need that refresh, that working definition of what intuition actually is, maybe why we're disconnected from it. I'd love to hear a little bit about your story of getting connected into your intuition, and also maybe expound on the idea that our intuition speaks to us in unique ways. Like, I want people to walk away from this with a set of tools and a way to understand how their intuition might be speaking. Because I know even sometimes I still struggle with it. I'm like, wait, what? Is it the first voice, or is it the one that booms in after? Is it is it my gut? Is it my heart?
All right, let's draw in what you just said with also what's the difference between what my heart wants and intuition, right? Because a lot of people are like, my heart said that I was definitely going to be with that fella, and then he cheated on me and we broke up, right? So it'll answer that question too. And on top of that, I'm going to tell you a super vulnerable, super like fresh story, right? So I teach this tool called Stop, Drop, and Roll, right? It's how to tell the difference between your ego and intuition. Y'all are going to get that free guided meditation, right? It's awesome. You're going to get how to tell the difference between your ego and intuition, which is through the body. And so, you know, with the head, the heart, you know, the gut, what happens is the heart, in terms of romance, right? It has this desire to be expansive and to love and partnership. And then we have the mind, the ego, the humanness that wants to protect the heart and doesn't want to get burnt again and all these kinds of things, right? And when we think and feel into, I'll speak for myself, the next person I'm going to be with is going to be, you know, the one who honors me as the goddess, because they're going to be a person of God themselves, right? And I feel really good about feeling this combination of life and building and creating a family together. And I can picture our house in the woods, you know, and I know how it will feel. And I'm sure you listening and anyone else listening is feeling the expansion with this vision. Yeah. Right? I just signed my divorce papers 2 days ago, and I feel also expansive about that. And if I were to do the wrong thing, which is not sincere to how I feel now, okay, but as an example, I could spend a whole bunch of time telling you how awful that relationship was and how I don't want another relationship like that, right? I could tell you, I don't want someone who body shames me. You know, I don't want someone who, you know, doesn't spend money the way that person spent money. You know, I want to fill in the blank. I'm not going to go there too long, because guess what? How are you feeling right now? Like crap, your whole
Yeah.
face changed.
Yeah. I was like,
You were like holding that space for me and my God, man. You were like,
mm-hmm.
yes, you know? And then I'm like, I don't like this. And you're like, oh, and I'm sorry, but that's what we do inside of ourselves. And then we, you know, wonder why we're getting mixed results. But the point is that whatever it is that we are listening to more, if we're listening to the ego and the fear and I don't like and I don't want and I was hurt and I was burnt and I'm trying to get away from something that hurt, the more that the true desires of the heart as a function of a romantic relationship and relationships, right? Because that's a part of our soul, it's a part of our intuition, but it's not the whole of it. Right? We have a connection to source outside of relationships. That's the primary connection, right? Self source, and then other, right? Primary partnership, family, all of these things, right? So when we have this dual vibration in the heart of I want this, but I'm so hurt from the past, that's when confusion sets in for two reasons.
Yeah, it's a stalemate.
Yeah. Well, number one, we're sending out mixed vibrations. So we're sending out mixed vibrations. So we're receiving people who are they our match?
Not
if
quite.
We're sending out, right. They're almost. And then we get confused. And so I just said to a really good friend the other day, I'm like, if we go in the dressing room, right? You're in the clothing store and we go in the dressing room. And if we know the rule, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no for a pair of shorts, why don't we know this for romantic partners that take years to figure out? Like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean, I've been through it, right? And so the story that I want to share is, you know, like I said, I did just sign the divorce papers, and it's free and freeing and expansive, and we're on good terms and all this jazz. And we were on the podcast talking about how I followed the rainbow in my third eye through that period. So the call back to that. And here's the thing, though, is that I never stopped, dropped, and rolled on us before.
Wow.
Before I did on the first solar eclipse back in August 2017. 6 years.
Can you give the people that are listening who don't have a framework, just a mini framework for what stop, drop, and roll is?
Stop, drop, and roll is the way to hear what your intuition says through your body. So, you know, you're always going to want to start super small. So pick something that's inconsequential in your life. Should I wear the red or the blue? Should I take the left or the right? Should I call or text, right? And you just go, you get yourself, you know, you close your eyes, you take some deep breaths, and you start to picture yourself in scenario A, whatever it is that you choose. And you bring in all of your senses. You touch, you smell, you taste. You are not remote viewing. If you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. And even if you've never been there before, if I told you to picture a car right now, you're picturing a car and you're not asking me if you're doing it right.
Yeah.
Like, did I picture the wrong car? No, you didn't. You pictured the right car. You're just giving something your body to respond to. And so once you feel out that scenario and you taste and you touch and you smell, you do a body scan, and your body will tell you if it feels expansive. That's your intuition being like, yeah, go for it, you know? And I bet you can understand what constrictive means. It means like, hey, don't go in that direction. And so then you do the same thing with scenario B. You need something to compare it to. And so once you get practiced at this, you can do it on big things like, should I get a divorce and move all the way across country to a place I've never been called Venice Beach, California? Because when you see the rainbow, because when you see the rainbow in your third eye, you've gone through 10 years of resistance and bigger challenges and bigger leaps where they've all worked out when you trusted your intuition. So in the beginning, you've got all this resistance of like why you should do something that's illogical.
Yeah,
right?
That's a big part of it.
Oftentimes intuition is illogical, right? You know, so if I go back to the very first day we met, if I go back to right when we moved in together, I'll give a good example of when we moved in together after a year. I found myself crying because of the body shaming that was happening. Mm. And I think a lot of people know that as a red flag. I was never even exposed to something like that before. So I didn't fully know how to register
the language for what that is.
I didn't know it was body shaming until after I got divorced. And yeah. So I was confused. Because I wanted to be with this guy.
Big, huge red flag from your intuition is confusion.
Yes. So confusion is you actually have an inner knowing, but you're refusing to look, and the logic doesn't make sense. So after he moved in, I literally thought to myself, I'm like, well, I got rid of all of my furniture and all of my kitchen stuff because his was better. And we just signed a lease, and I wouldn't have a place to live and he wouldn't have a place to live. And that's embarrassing. We just moved in together, and then that's embarrassing. That's not confusion. That's a refusal to feel what you're actually feeling and follow your intuition.
Yeah.
Because I was embarrassed, because I was shamed, because I thought he was fucking hot as hell, right? Because I liked having him as a status symbol, like a million reasons.
Yeah, so interesting.
And so that is exactly it.
Yeah, when you start to make those lists, you realize that how you actually feel is like ninth on the list. Like, you're considering like how someone else feels, him, something that's not going to really nurture you for the long run, like looks. It's just interesting how so many women end up number 9 or number 8 or number 6 or whatever it is, instead of like that true knowing. And so, ideally what we help people with by having this conversation is like how to move into the action of what your intuition, your heart, I don't know if we're using these interchangeably, is telling you.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah. And then also I wanted to go back to sort of the shadowy side of the heart, and especially when it comes to relationships. It's like, well, where is the place to be angry and feel shamed and talk about it and know that this person was a mirror to help you see things about you? Like, where does that conversation come in to play?
Well, let's talk about the heart and the gut, right? Because again, that can be super confusing. Your intuition speaks through your body. Mm-hmm. It can speak in your heart. It can speak in your gut. It can speak in your little toe. Okay. It speaks through your emotional guidance system. Mm-hmm. And when conventionally people talk about the heart, they're talking about lust and desire.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they're two the same thing. We know what lust is. And desire is very helpful. You heard my desires about my partnership earlier in this conversation, and we all felt good and in alignment with that desire.
So true.
Okay? So a lot of times we'll fall in love with the potential, which is what I did. And I'm like, he is someone who is aware. He is someone who is spiritual. He will grow into, I see his potential, even though he's not living up to it and he doesn't know it himself. Right. And so we'll fall in love with all of that. But in the meantime, the body will actually tell us. So desire and heart's desire, my heart's desire did not change from 7 years ago. I still have the same heart's desire, and you heard it and you felt good and you supported it.
Yeah.
I just tried to convince myself that this guy was the plug-in to that heart's desire because I was 31, because I was getting old enough, because how are you going to find someone to date a full-time psychic medium? How are they going to match that spiritually and awareness-wise? And this guy, is into psychedelics and, read the Law of One books when he was 15, right? So the stats, whatever your stats are, he rides a motorcycle, he's got a 401k, he's going to make a good dad, like whatever your stats are, you either see it or you see its potential, right? Yeah. None of that is your intuition, except for your heart's desire, And your heart's desire may be different than mine, and that's completely fine. Maybe you don't even want to be with a partner, but you just want to have lovers. That's your desire. It's fine. You know? But it's when we get, you can call it even sort of just that bond that happens chemically, right? When we have that, it creates confusion. And I can guarantee you that you can feel more even before you start texting on an app. You will be able to feel whether or not this will work out for you. You just need to develop that trust, which is through that exercise, stop, drop, and roll, right? And so, and then the other question you had was, where is the place where we process and all that stuff? That's great.
Yeah, the healthy space, because God knows we all need that. You know, there's been a lot of things that we've been repressing too.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I found that out for sure. The place I've found most helpful is morning pages, 3 pages a day, every morning. I can concretely see that my life is always healthier and always moving through the shit quicker, way quicker.
Yeah.
When I'm doing that, I've had a meditation practice every single day for 10 years, so I can't discount that.
Yeah.
So that we're knowing what are our thoughts and what are our feelings and what is the difference, right? Between the body feelings and the interpretations and the thoughts, and just knowing what our thoughts are saying. And then also community. Community is huge. Yeah. You can talk to me about those things. We can have this meeting offline or online. It's not mine though. You get to, you know, like community, talking about it. If you know, I would say with like-minded people. You know, I identify as female, and I would say from my perspective in this body, it's been most helpful for me to connect to other females. Yeah. You know, in terms of what you were talking about.
I so agree. Yeah. I mean, that community has radically changed my life and the way that I heal, and my own ability to tap into what's really there, like the scary stuff. So I totally agree on the community part.
And if you don't feel, if you know, I was in a position 8 years ago where I didn't feel like I had a community of women, and it was a little bit embarrassing and it was uncomfortable, and women kind of made me uncomfortable. That's a great place to start, you know, but that's part of the separation as well. I mean, traditionally it's called women's intuition. Sorry guys, but that's a thing.
That's so true.
You know? And so if we're disconnected from each other and we see competition and we are making each other uncomfortable, we're not going to be comfortable with that feminine receptive part of ourselves, which will naturally incline us to trust our intuition more. Right? So that's another way to trust your intuition more, is to process all this stuff. And a great way to do that is through community. And when you get with community, you actually learn to trust yourself more. You know, there's so many things that I just keep being like, that's not mine, that's not mine, you know, from the 6 years we're together. And it was just like, oh my God, I'm just getting lighter every day. And I still confirm with my friends. I'm like, is this normal? And they're like, hell no, that's not normal. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know, like we need that.
Yeah, we do.
But again, we need that vulnerability to be able to share too, you know? So I would argue confusion in relationships, let's say particularly in the beginning, you know, before you start the combo, while you're texting, third date through first year, you're feeling confusion. You're not confused.
Yeah.
Your intuition is saying moveon.com, and you've gotten hooked in some way, shape, or form because you desire, or because you're trying to prevent something else, or you just feel like it's time. You know, there's lack or desperation, and you got to deal with that.
That's true. If there's a great deal of confusion, you're not in the right space.
Yeah.
Or you at
and
least
that's your intuition.
You need to take the time to really stop, drop, and roll and see what
something needs to change. Right. So if you're in a long relationship and there's confusion, you know, there are ways possibly for you to, you know, come back
the energy.
Come back to the polarization that you desire in your romantic partnership.
Yeah.
You get to look and take inventory and shift, and then you can shift, and all of a sudden you're back in sync. You know, maybe you work by yourself, maybe you work with your partner, whatever, you know?
I love it.
And then sometimes it doesn't go back because one or more parties isn't there. And, you know, the confusion that you have will last for a really long time. Well, how long is the confusion going to lead into clarity to say, oh, right, you know?
I'm choosing
I
something.
remember in my relationship, I figured out the fundamental difference in why I attracted this. But before I did, I was like, I can't leave this because I'm confused.
Yeah.
And I knew that I would be less confused if I stayed in and figured it out than if I left and tried that confusion on someone else. And I just knew I wouldn't be able to get to it by myself.
I had the same knowing. Like I was
Yeah.
going to stay until I worked it out, you know, within myself, and I knew some things for sure. So I wouldn't just go and recreate the same sort of thing with someone new.
Yeah. But by that time, when we're in that mode, we're not confused anymore. We are actively figuring it out.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't say in that moment to a girlfriend, I'm confused.
Mm-hmm.
We would say exactly what we just said, which I did say. I was like,
Yeah.
I can't leave this until I figure it out because it's going to be worse in the next situation if I don't figure it out. And then I figured it out and then I left.
Yeah, that's so true. So how do we connect from the intuition to the breath? Like how do these practices meld or make out, as we said in the description?
Such a great question. Okay, so I just like to say that there's a reason why I just stopped doing psychic medium readings after 10 years to just switch over to breath work, right? Like it's like a super big, powerful reason, and it's just called breath work. Why did I make the switch? How do they relate? Like, why is it so monumental? Is because this process just cleans you out of all of the blocks and plugs you right into your intuition. It is the physical, spiritual, energetic process that in 1/2 hour, you have the answer.
Okay.
Yeah. And
well,
so
we're going to get to experience some of that later, right?
I'm going to teach I don't know. If we want to do some breath work, I'd probably teach the cortisol flush because that's probably most helpful.
Yeah. I think if we could do something, in just a little bit, that'd be great.
Cool.
Great.
Yeah. Well, what I'll say is this is cool because it's a different type than this 30-minute process. Because if we were to just do a few minutes of that, it wouldn't be as helpful. But this breath is related because it's all breath, right? Mm-hmm. So the cortisol flush is super important because if you do this 4 times a day, you are going to proactively, of course, flush the cortisol out of your system, which gets you more in touch with who you truly are. You have an expanded awareness, which is literally more connection to your intuition. And you can see what's right in front of you, which you would normally be blocked from when you're filled with cortisol or you're not breathing, which is like the same thing, right? So this is something that I definitely recommend, particularly to everyone who needs how to stop taking on other people's energy, right? Because that's actually a precursor to everything intuition. All right. So chances are
figuring out what's yours.
Yeah. Chances are people listening to this, they're just like us, right? We are a mirror of you right now. Mm-hmm. And we are sensitive, powerful people. We are empaths. We can feel what other people feel. Feeling what other people feel blocks your intuition unless you're 100% of the time seeing it as a mirror, which most people are not ready to do. And you are not in touch with your own self. You don't know what is your intuition, what is your body, what is your emotions versus other people's, because like you said, you're 9th on the list. Yeah. Right? So if you're paying attention to all of those other things, but you know, my bestie, she said she was going to go to this intensive workshop because she just wanted things to end on a good note. I was like, oh, that sounds real people-pleasy to me. Yeah, you're going to spend a whole weekend with these people because you wanted to end on a good note? Like, gross, you know? Real gross. That's one to watch out for, by the way. Well, I just want people to feel good at the end, so I'm going to go to the birthday party or whatever. Yeah. So, when we don't know what is other people's, we can't tune into ourselves. And so this cortisol flush can help you flush out some of that stuff. So can all the things in the class, How to Stop Taking on Other People's Energy, which
Nice.
I recommend people get into if they're at all interested in intuition and empowering themselves before they get into intuition stuff. It's going to be very confusing because we are picking up on other people's stuff all the time, unless we're actively not.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay. So let's do the cortisol flush. This is great. My favorite part about this breath, it's a 3-part inhale and exhale, is that when you're doing it, you're also paying attention to what's happening on the exhale. So it's not just like a sigh out. You're paying attention to the breath. So you're breathing into 3 places. You're breathing into the low belly, and you're expanding that place, and then you continue to breathe in and feel the heart expand, and then the last sip of air is in the throat.
Okay.
And then as you're exhaling, you pay attention to the reverse order, right? So as you exhale, you feel the air leaving your throat, you feel the chest go down a little bit, and you feel the low belly. So this flush is doing this breath 4 times. So 4 inhales, 4 exhales.
Okay.
And let's just do it a little bit now. So to review, if you want to put your hands on your heart and your belly, you can. You don't have to, but you're getting in touch with your body, so it's good. So you're taking a really deep inhale into the belly, and then you're feeling it in the heart expand, and then you're paying attention, the last sip of air in your throat. And as you're exhaling the throat, the heart, and the belly, you're going to have your eyes closed, and you could do it with the mouth or the nose. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
So let's do it.
I love it. I like to hear
Feels
my
so
breath a little bit
Yeah.
when I'm breathing.
Yeah. So I recommend people put an alarm on their phone 4 times a day and treat it as just a joyous treat.
Mm,
Like, who doesn't want a cortisol flush?
exactly.
Right.
And I'm just so amazed how different you feel when you take, how long did that take us? Like 30 seconds, if that?
Probably, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just amazing the difference I feel. Yeah, and especially if there is confusion around an issue, it would be a powerful time to use the cortisol breathing
Yeah.
technique, correct?
Frequently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because you're overcoming your own fears too, right? So there's a lot to overcome and break through. Whenever spirit asks me to repeat something, I just do,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
So just tell people just about logic and intuition, right? So I did say it briefly, but let's just say, just to make it very clear, our intuition in our bodies will often tell us to do something that our mind tells us not to do,
Mm-hmm.
that our mind says is illogical, unsafe, there's not enough money, there's not enough time, you had better get going, you had better hurry up, that's just illogical. And so if intuition was logical, we wouldn't have intuition and logic, right? We wouldn't have 2 different
That
things.
battle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And with intuition as well, it will also tell us to do things we're fearful of, because it's meant to help us expand. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
We're here to gain that health and happiness that we want, but we have to overcome all of our fears to get there. So our intuition is going to tell us to confront our fears quite frequently. And that stop, drop, and roll tool will literally help you know the difference between what is your fear and your intuition. That stop,
Mm-hmm.
drop, and roll tool is not a thinking exercise. You're not thinking about the situation. You already do that.
It's true all
You
the time.
already do it. You already do the pros and cons. You already think about the situation all the time. So that's not what the exercise is. You're putting yourself in that scenario, in that movie, right? In that virtual reality where you can smell and taste things.
So
So that is how you tell the difference, because you're just like, well, I got this stop, drop, and roll, and then I was fearful. So that, how do I know? It's like, that's how you know.
Well, so in that space, how do we discern from, and I feel like I have a pretty good idea about this, but I'm just curious for you, how do you discern between that fear, the Joseph Campbell fear, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek, and like legitimate, like this is not for you, pick a different path type of constriction?
It's literally stop, drop, and roll, because when you are in the scenario, you are present in the scenario, your body will feel expansive. As soon as you're out of that exercise, you'll be terrified.
Okay.
I saw a rainbow in my third eye that said, leave my husband. And I got a horrible stomach ache in my stomach when I felt staying with him. Do you think I was like scared shitless to move across the country? Like my mom actually is the one who kind of like booted me out strangely. She gave me a one-way ticket and told me to take 2 suitcases, and I'd never been to LA. Like, it doesn't mean that I'm fearless.
Yeah.
But I know enough, and I had so many trials. Like, that's the thing, right? Like on the first solar eclipse in August, I dedicated my life to the flow, which means this, what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Then I found this apartment, and I had to do crazy things, crazy hoops to jump through it. For instance, quite literally manifesting $40,000 in a personal bank account within 2 weeks.
Hell yeah.
To get a studio apartment. And my friends, high vibe friends, spiritual teacher friends said, well, Betsy, you dedicated your life to the flow. This doesn't seem to be flowing. Maybe this apartment isn't for you. And they are not me.
Yeah.
And they are meant to challenge me. Friends, family, jobs, our, environment is meant to challenge me. So what did I do? I'd already been doing this the whole time. I went out to the beach and I stopped, dropped, and rolled on this apartment. And when I felt into the apartment, I felt so expansive, and the rainbows were going crazy. And when I felt moving to the east side of LA, when I felt moving into with roommates, when I felt moving into any other place, I got a horrible stomachache. Was it easy to get in this place? No. But that is the point of life.
Yeah.
Our intuition will tell us to go for the gold medal. But ask any Olympian, was it easy? Were they like terrified? We know the answer to that.
Yeah, it's so true, because life is in our favor. It's wanting to expand us. It's being like, okay, you got to stretch out here. You got to believe just a little bit more, but like, I got you.
Yep.
That's so important. That distinction is so important. I think that this conversation will help a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had lots of big opportunities. My rent kept doubling because the universe asked me to move to these places that it was just absurd. So I had these opportunities to be like, I can't afford $900 and I have to move into an $1,800 place, like what? And then I moved, and then the money came. And then I went to a $3,600 a month place because that's what spirit guided me to do. And it was absurd. And then I wound up making way more money that year and got sent to the Dominican Republic, me and my partner, for a week, all expenses paid.
All right.
Right?
All right. So now we better
listen. Right? But the bank account, the numbers, the social media didn't show that.
Yeah.
No accountant, no family member was like, I think that's a great idea to spend $3,600 a month on being a psychic medium in New York City and coach. Like, no one thought that was a good idea.
Yeah.
But spirit.
That's right. And your intuition guided you.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's so powerful. So as we sort of wrap up this conversation, I have one question that I'm asking everyone that's the same, but I would love to know if there's anything else that you feel like we've missed with intuition that people really need to hear.
The thing I want to stress the most is that we need to be consistent with ourselves. Okay. Otherwise we will see inconsistency in the world. So when
Can I just pause you for a second?
Yes.
She does not lie. she has a routine and she lives it and she sticks with it. So if this is your sticky point, like I've learned a ton just by osmosis, by watching you, by being like, well, what is it that you do? And like she freaking does it. So okay.
Thanks. Yeah. And in fact, as we're recording this, this is like the message in the stars of like, you got to mean what you say. Are you actually doing what you say you're doing? Right? Like I actually mean, I have not meditated less than a handful of times over the past 10 years. Right? So I really mean that. So you have to be consistent, but you know, everyone's interested in intuition these days. People want to know certainty. They want to know what's happening. You know, they just want to know they will get it someday, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't get there unless you are empowering yourself as an empath and you know how to not take on other people's energy. And it's the first step and it's the most important step. You know, number 45 has stirred up so much within us. I'm so grateful, you know, and we got to know how not to be scared shitless.
Yeah.
You know, we got to know how to be aware in the news and not let it take us down. We got to know how to let our friends, family members, children, lovers fail and not freak out, because otherwise our heads are in someone else's lane.
That's so
and
true.
You will not have access to your intuition. So that is my call to action. How to stop taking on other people's energy.
That is so powerful. So tell people how they can find out more about your program and you. Where do they go?
BetsyLafae.com/courses is where you can go. Each digital class is only $33. It has breathwork as a part of it, which is just the most transformative part. Everything that we learn gets embodied through the breathwork. And I am putting out these classes in the order that Spirit says I should put them out, which is surprising to me. I thought Intuition 101 would be the first. It's not. It's the third. Wow. So how to stop taking on other people's energy is one. And then the second one, which is about to come out, is Finally Forgiven. And that's coming out because Chiron moved to Aries, the wounded healer, and now it's time for the divine masculine to heal. It's not that we're done, okay? But how in the world is anyone going to heal if we don't know how to forgive and forgive well? That's
so important. I'm definitely going to be in both of those classes. Those are huge.
So,
I mean, it makes sense. It's like you're taking a energetic spiritual bath before you really get into your own work and your own body. We have to like remove all these years of, you know, unforgiveness is a huge thing. And I really see energy as like we're these powerful batteries. And if we're running these tapes and we have all this stuff, it's keeping us from our wildest dreams. And that's what I really want people to be able to be in touch with and connect with and feel like it's possible, but you can't without those steps. That makes total sense.
And starting with how to stop taking on other people's energy develops your consistency with yourself so that you can face harder things like how to forgive. After that's Intuition 101, and I think you're going to like this, the fourth class coming out after that is on anger. Healthy anger, which we all need.
Wow. Well, whoever's giving you these directions, they sound super on point. It's definitely like what's up in the collective. And so I think the perfect way to wrap up our conversation is with this question I've been asking everybody. And it is, what happens when you refuse to play by the rules?
Worlds open up. Yes. and the paradigm shifts. Woo. And this is the call to action, is to break the rules because the systems aren't working. So we need to remind ourselves of that. I am a person who likes rules personally. I just like rules.
Yeah, but your own directives.
Exactly. And also, you know, I don't like confrontation as much as the next person, you know, but our intuition is always going to challenge things that don't work. And so we know like so much is not working. We need to break those rules in order to come up with new ones.
Perfect.
Break the silence, break the rules.
Yes. I love it. And that's exactly what I hope this symposium is giving all of you, is permission to really challenge and break those rules. And I just want to say thank you so much for this conversation. And I could talk to you forever and ever and ever. And I'm glad that you're a personal friend, because
I'm going to say we will.
yeah, I need those courses, and I think the world does. So thank you for what the beauty
Yeah.
that you create. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Betsy.
absolutely. Thank you for having me. Feels
Yeah,
really good.
good. So welcome.
Yeah.